Well, welcome to a brand new series of the Motorbike Show. Now, there's plenty of treats in store, including me highlighting some of my favourite rides, both in the UK and in Europe. Where better place to start, though, than here in Wales? I've come here because it's one of Britain's most underrated destinations. But if you're into biking, Wales has got it all. Gorgeous roads, picturesque towns, fantastic landscapes. So I'm going to explore one of Wales's most famous rides, 25 miles of great roads from Devil's Bridge in Ceredigion to the town of Rhyadr and then onto the Elan Valley Reservoir. Well, that's where we're going, but what are we going to ride? Well, it's radical, it's a B-road bullet, but most importantly, it's British. It's one of the most exciting new bikes of recent years, the Ccm Spitfire. I've got a brand new flat tracker model with carbon fibre panels, forged alley wheels and more attitude than a busload of six-formers. This one's straight out of the showroom, but right away, it's a joy to ride. But before I really get going, let me introduce you to a local institution. Do you know what, the ride hasn't even started properly yet, but that road from our hotel in Aberystwyth to here in Devil's Bridge is just quite incredible, man. It is lovely, beautiful bends, the vistas. If that's the sign of things to come, we're going to have a great day. But this is where the ride officially starts, here in Devil's Bridge, and most importantly, at the Two Hoots Tea Rooms. The Two Hoots Tea Room, get it, is in the back end of Devil's Bridge railway station, at the beginning of the Vale of Rheidol railway. Nearby, there's this odd-looking three-layer bridge said to have been built by the devil himself. I don't know about that, but the grub in the tea room is anything but diabolical. As owner Alan tells me, they've been here now for 29 years.
It's a homely atmospheric place for everybody, and people who come in, they're treated like friends. And we have a good laugh with people.
Tell you what, I've nearly finished it. That tea's seriously good, that Welsh tea.
That is Welsh brew tea.
Now look, right, it's a mecca for bikers, right?
It is a mecca for bikers, yeah. We get a lot of Harleys coming in, groups of Harleys. We get a group from Ireland that come every 2 years, 3 years, all on trikes.
Do they? How cool is that?
Oh, phenomenal.
What is it about the Devil's Bridge ride that you think is so special? I mean, I can see, just coming from Aberystwyth this morning, the road there, I'm not even on the actual ride, it's divine.
It is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's a lot of these boys, they don't want it for the speed.
No.
They've got powerful bikes, they just want to go and enjoy themselves, ride on these country roads. They just love it.
I can't wait to get going. But then, out of the blue, a local petrol head turns up in this. Meet Ian. Now look, before we hit the road, I've got to just show you this. Ian's just rocked up. Now that could officially be, was it deemed a tricycle?
In the day, it was an invalid carriage. But to get them on the road today, we're allowed to register them as trikes. And it's got handlebars.
So it's got every reason to be in the show.
Yeah.
But do you know what, man? I used to see these going round the roads when I was a kid. I've never actually seen inside one. So it does have handlebars like a bike, Ian.
Yeah, and the throttle as you'd expect, but braking probably not as you expect.
How would you brake?
Push down to brake.
The Invacar was first produced in 1948 and was instantly identifiable in its ministry blue colour scheme. Tens of thousands of them were built for disabled drivers until the government decided to scrap them in 2003.
I found it in a field in Sussex with about 12 others. There's a lot that's bad about them, the safety, and they're quite easy to roll over, and there are all sorts of safety issues. But to a lot of people, they were a lifeline, an absolute lifeline.
Yeah, and also to you now, there's something, to nurture and cherish, and that's what it's all about, isn't it, mate? Wow. Now look, talking about restorations, what are we going to restore this time? Now the holy grail for me in sheds searching for motorcycles has always been the BSA Goldstar, and I think we've just found one.
First things first, it's got to be checked out and snapped up. So I'm on my way to Surrey with my partner in grime, Sam Lovegrove.
It's a very early one, so it's like the very first of the swinging arm bikes. I'm not listening now, I'm just too excited. Yeah, you are quite, aren't you? Hey. Oh, come on, you've got to admit to it, right? I mean, this is the holy grail. If it is, and it should be what Greg says, yeah, it's got to be the best thing ever, isn't it?
I am nervous though. Last time I visited Greg's place, he sold me a pup.
Would you take a look at that, Sam?
Or to be more precise, a Dennis lawnmower.
200?
3.5.
250?
3.5.
We spent hours doing it up and then sold it at a loss.
I would have thought 50 quid was where it ought to be.
But forewarned is forearmed, so fingers crossed this time round we'll come up trumps.
There he is, look, waiting for us. I think they call it retail therapy.
Yeah, it's not quite that.
Mate, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Great to see you,
Right,
mate.
long time no
Hey.
see.
Well, yeah, no introduction needed. Now, mate, we might have found the holy grail, have we?
We have.
Really?
Yep.
And it's matching numbers?
Matching everything.
Mate.
Matching rust.
We'll see in a bit. Come on. What are you wasting time for? Oh, I say.
Greg's shed has more attractions than Elvis Costello's backing band, but today we're on a mission in a singular edition.
We aren't stumping. Is it there?
Yeah.
And there it is, a 1954 350cc BSA Goldstar.
Please take a look at this.
Right now, it may look more Tin Star than Goldstar, but there's no doubt what we have here.
I feel a bit tearful.
Oh, yeah, you like
Well,
it?
come on, man, how many years, right? You know, I go into a shed and I dream of finding something like this. I mean, just for me, a Goldstar is about the ton-up boys. Do you know what I mean? It's about that sort of first of the calf racers.
First produced in 1938, the BSA Goldstar is a truly iconic bike. Very fast, very shiny, it was the go-to ride for ton-up boys, rockers and discerning hooligans of all classes and creeds.
What do you think?
Still processing.
No, you process, I'll get excited.
This starter's a non-starter. The petrol tank is dernier cru. And the engine looks more unloved than pre-loved, but what a find.
How much is it worth like this? It's a 350.
It's got to be worth 17 or something. Done.
Done.
Yeah.
What do you reckon it's worth now? 6?
Yeah, I mean, I'd buy it at that without thinking very hard.
Come on, let's go and try 'em. Come on, Greg. Now, Greg, I'm curbing my enthusiasm, I've got to tell you, mate. It is what you said it was, isn't it?
It's a
It
gold
is, isn't
star.
it?
But it's a minter, it's lovely.
But it's original, so original.
I know.
You'd never find another one like it.
I know, we've been looking for years. Hey, hang on, I must wipe that smile off my
Yeah.
face and get serious on the deals.
Rough, innit?
Scruffy,
Yeah.
but nice.
I'm not so sure whether it's totally original myself.
No, one of those levers is wrong.
Yeah, both of them are wrong. They're bent.
Just one of them, mate.
Okay, one of them is
It's
wrong.
seized.
Now, seriously, how much do you want for it?
7.5.
Uh-oh, I lost my shirt on the lawnmower. Now he wants me trousers and my Y-fronts.
I was thinking more beginning with a 6.5.
Make me cough.
Cough up 7. Yeah.
I'd split the difference with me yet.
Would you?
Let's have a deal.
7?
Yeah.
Mate, thank you. You have made an old man incredibly happy.
Coming up, I'm smitten by an aerial nomad.
I know it's a motorcycle show, but I think any self-respecting motorcyclist would like one of these.
and things hot up in the shed.
Quick, fire! Tom, health and safety.
I'm in Wales, getting ready for the Devil's Bridge ride, a local favourite.
Now, before you start any ride, you've got to have a bit of sustenance. I'm on my third cup of tea, but also, as well as getting bacon butties and all the normal fare, there are a couple of local delicacies. Now, that cake, which is a lovely fruit cake, is called bara brith, but also my favourite, a Welsh cake. I promise you, I will get riding just in a moment or two.
But enough of the grub, let's get on the road. The first part of the Devil's Bridge ride takes you along a nicely twisty B road, the B4574. This is the first part of National Cycle Route 81, which runs all the way from Aberystwyth to Wolverhampton. So in high summer, it can get fairly busy. Right now though, it's mercifully empty.
Many of us bikers plan wonderful European trips, and why not? But just have a look around the UK, because this ride out of Devil's Bridge is stunning, and when the weather's with you, you don't want to be anywhere else, do you, man? Even at 21 miles an hour. God, it's just fantastic.
The Ccm has got a 610 Husqvarna engine. It's not super fast, but it's lively and responsive. And it's got very decent Brembo brakes, should you need to make a swift stop. The Spitfire's skeletal good looks are very urban, very up to date, a hipster's must have. It's a bike that sits up and begs to be ridden, and on a road like this, it really comes into its own.
I'll tell you what, this mountain road out of Devil's Bridge is sublime, and this CCM is the perfect bike for it, but it is quite technical. No corner is the same, and some kind of tighten up on you, and I must always remember, don't push yourself, Henry, because you run out of talent pretty quick. And it always reminds me of the adage, ride a bike how you want to ride it, not how someone else wants to. Now, let's talk restorations, shall we? We have finally achieved my dream of finding a BSA Goldstar in a shed, totally original. But have we been sold a pup, or have we struck gold? Time to get in the shed and find out. I actually can't quite believe we've got something like that, so original. It is the holy grail, isn't it?
I think it's 25 years since I had any project as original as that one.
And it's in there. Yeah. Come on then. Strippage!
So there it is, a 1954 BSA Goldstar in all its rusty glory. It's as original as sin, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Do you know what, mate? I do think we need to do a ground-up resto.
Yeah, I mean, this machine is in such good physical mechanical condition. You know, it's not really rotten, it's not bashed and bent. So we could reuse all of the materials.
A few bits like the exhaust pipe will have to be replaced, but we'll aim to keep as much of the original as possible.
You see, if I was a motorcycle and I'd been found in a shed and you turned up, I think I'd want you to fully restore me using my original parts, like my nose, that kind of stuff. I wouldn't like you to get new bits, like, you know, I quite like my nose and that kind of thing. So first thing is, Sammy, strip it, yep?
Yep, let's go for it. Let's get the big bits off first.
Yeah, let's get the big bits off. Nice.
The first stage of any restoration is to strip down.
That's it! We've done it! Eh? Without breaking it!
Restoration's finished.
Yeah!
A bike like this has hundreds of individual parts, so there's a lot to remove. Before long, the shed is a symphony of brushing, wrenching and fiddling, punctuated by relentless chat about Zen and the art of motorcycle restoration.
You know, there's this big thing at the moment about all these books, right? Mindfulness books, you know, hippie stuff. You should have read them all.
Read them all? I'm thinking of writing one.
Well, I think you should.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I believe that true therapy happens in a shed.
Look at the state of that under there.
That is years of road riding, isn't it?
Correct, yeah, that is years of British road riding.
To make life sporting, the Goldstar has two different types of nuts and bolts, Whitworth and AF, each of which requires special tools. Not that it bothers Sam, he's never happier than when he's talking shafts and nuts.
That spanner is for a 3/8 shaft bolt. That's a 3/8 shaft bolt. Oh, look.
Bingo, it
Beautiful
works.
fit.
Some of it comes off easily enough, but the exhaust needs a helping hammer.
There we go, lovely jubbly.
Sam uses an oxyacetylene torch to help bend the foot peg back into shape, and a humble plumber's torch to loosen up some tricky joints. But viewers beware, play with fire and you might just start one.
Quick, fire! Tom! Tom, health and safety. Go! Go, leave the camera crew, let's go!
All right.
Fire!
One watering can later, it's panic over. After that, there are no more surprises. We motor on to the last big boy for today, the engine.
Oh, look at that. To the bench.
Even though most of the engine is made from aluminium, it weighs close to 35 kilos, so that's my exercise for today.
And then lean it there. Like lean it there.
Look at that. Now that.
He's filthy.
Wow, certainly a good start, isn't it?
Well, are you out of breath?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
That is quite heavy for a sporty motor.
So a good start, methinks. The fat lady hasn't quite sung, but she'll soon be naked.
So look, right, a couple of hours tomorrow and we should be done. That's the good news. The other good news is you're making the mung tea. All right. For you, that is, not me. I'll just have normal breakfast.
Back in Wales, I've taken a pit stop to chill out and enjoy the scenery.
Over the last decade, the whole retro revival thing has allowed British brands like Triumph, Norton and Brough Superior to burgeon. But what about other brands? Well, like Ariel.
Once Ariel was a byword for eye-catching bikes and innovative engineering. So how are they bringing this heritage into the 21st century?
Well, Ariel are here, and I'm pleased to say very well, deep in the Somerset countryside. Tom?
My guide to Ariel present and past is Tom Siebert.
This is one of the earliest examples of a motorised Ariel which we have, which they actually came as a tricycle. So you can see there in the middle, the wheel would have gone in there.
It was four wheels and optional extra.
Yeah, this quadricycle was a super posh add-on, basically.
I could just see myself on the front there.
From the 1920s to the 50s, models like the Square 4 and the HT5 had kept them ahead of the pack. But after a takeover by BSA, they signed their own death warrant when they released this three-wheel moped in 1970.
Here we go. Right, compression. Right, now, come on, baby. No, no, not now. You can go uphill. Come on.
The advertising said it all. Here it is, whatever it is.
Okay, I'm doing that. Oh, God, I nearly went down. If I hadn't had three wheels then, I'd be chewing tarmac.
The Ariel 3 killed off the brand, but not for long. In the late 90s, Ariel reinvented themselves as a sports car manufacturer with this stripped-down, funked-up fun machine, the Ariel Atom.
The original Atom was 1999. The track day scene was booming and getting more and more. So obviously people taking their cars, you know, and just paying £200 and driving around and around. That was getting more and more popular. People didn't want to sacrifice their Porsches and Ferraris. And also with a very light car.
I know the feeling, mate. I don't want to sacrifice mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With a very light car, you don't need a massive engine, you don't need massive power, and you've got that nimble handling and response very much like a single-seat racing car.
The success of the Atom inspired Ariel to go even further.
I know it's a motorcycle show, but I think any self-respecting motorcyclist would like one of these. Come over here. Look, just come with me over here.
This amazing creation is the Ariel Nomad.
It's a road legal car, but it's designed to be able to be used on the road and off-road. The basic engine's 235 horsepower, and then we do a 300 horsepower supercharged one. It's obviously in a car which weighs just over half a tonne is motorcycle performance.
But Ariel haven't forgotten their motorcycling roots. Just take a look at this, the Ariel Ace, their first new bike in 50 years, combining radical engineering and quirky looks.
I think people want something different nowadays. That's one of the big things. You know, you can go and buy any number of Japanese bikes from a showroom, but they're all quite similar, and actually our customers want something special. If you pull up at a bike night on a Tuesday night at your local pub on one of these, you are getting mobbed.
What's really interesting about the Ace is the way it gives traditional styling a modern twist, like with this brand new take on the girder fork.
A lot of British bikes have girder forks, and Ariel's especially, the square fork that we've got in the showroom, no exception. We wanted to make a modern version of that using modern technologies, and as you can see with this here, it's more like a car wishbone arrangement with obviously a very high-tech shock absorber.
The Ace is powered by a 1200cc Honda engine, and I'm pleased to say there are no plans to build an electric version.
We're going to keep burning petrol as long as we can.
Good lad. Oh, that is music to my ears.
So a great British brand brought back to life through traditional petrol-head values.
We're really proud of the heritage, and we're really proud to have been able to bring the Ariel name back, and we want the British motoring industry to go from strength to strength.
Well, you and me both, man. That's what it's all about.
Amen.
And in your hands right now, it certainly is.
Coming up, I take an Ace out for a spin.
The power delivery is quite astounding.
And I'm introduced to a Norton Curio.
I think I'm just the right size for a racer of period.
Look perfect.
Welcome back to the Motorbike Show. I've just been down at Ariel in Somerset to find out about their first new bike in more than 50 years, the Ariel Ace. £20,000 worth of English eccentricity.
So we've had a gander around the Ariel factory. Perhaps now it's time to take a little bit more of an in-depth look at the Ariel Ace. And from whatever angle, this motorcycle is certainly radical.
Each bike is hand-built by a single employee, but many elements are customisable. The engine is a shaft-drive 1200cc Honda. The frame is milled from solid aluminium billet.
Now immediately, right, this frame stands out as the key element of the motorcycle. It kind of imbues the Atom frame, you know, the car, but at the same time reminds me of the Ducati Monster. The front forks, I mean, these girder forks are outrageous. But now let's have a look at the rear, shall we? This area is something that I personally just question. So the seat is kind of floating, yeah, with a rear wheel that obviously is positioned there because it's limited because of the use of shaft drive on where it should be. I feel as though it should be tucked in a little bit more, do you know what I mean? Now then, I'm no ace bike reviewer who I hold in such high regard like the Mark Potters and the Alan Cathcarts and everybody else. But I am qualified to ride this bike mainly because I'm old, right? And I think potential buyers, because of the price tag, will be relatively ancient. But also, I love motorcycles and I love just cruising along, and I genuinely believe this is a proper cruiser.
So here we go. Straight away you feel very planted in the bike. The handlebars are nice and wide and the riding position is very comfortable. For the most part I'm just pootling around country roads, but there's no mistaking, this is a powerful bike.
Did I say it was a cruiser before I rode it? Well, I'll tell you what's incredible about this motorcycle is it is anything you want it to be. The power delivery is quite astounding. I'll tell you something, when you're pinning it, you can feel the power, but when you roll off, the noise is quite incredible. Now, are there any foibles? Not that I've found in 20 miles, apart from, if you don't like this seat, which I'm still jury's out on, I reckon if they got rid of the yee-haw saddle flaps here, then that would go a long way to making that seat acceptable. And the key thing, it's a Marmite bike, isn't it? You either look at it and hate it, or you look at it and love it. One thing's for sure about this motorcycle, if you own one and you pull up at a cafe, I mean, everyone's going to gather around it with their own opinion. So the chances of having a quiet cappuccino on your own are relatively minimal if you own one of these.
Back in Wales, I'm enjoying a great ride on a smaller but equally distinctive British bike, a Ccm Spitfire. I'm roughly halfway from Devil's Bridge to Ryder, the sun is shining and I'm having a great time.
Now this ride incorporates everything, fast A roads, mountain passes, beautiful technical bends, everything you could really want from a Sunday afternoon on a motorcycle. I guess if you're a big sports bike going across this mountain range, you might feel as though it's kind of a sledgehammer to crack a nut. But at the same time, whatever you're riding, even if it's a Honda C50, you should be riding this road.
There are rivers and lakes either side of the B4574, picture postcard cottages and gorgeous views abound. Remember, even though it might seem pretty empty, you're rarely the only creature on the road. As well as the sheep, you've got to be careful of other four-footed friends.
Tell you what, when you do enter these mountain passes and cross the cattle grid, you do need to watch out for the wildlife. In my experience, sheep are relatively okay because they're used to the traffic. My problem has always been with cows and their babies. They seem to run out at every opportunity. But either way, man, even if you're just pootling along, mainly because of the gravel in this section, tinkling on my mud cart, you need to just take it easy.
After a couple of hours, including pit stops and pee breaks, I'm just rolling into Ryder, the first town since Devil's Bridge.
Hey look, we've made it to Ryder. Now, those 25 miles were absolutely sublime. I have to tell you, there are many routes in the UK that come close to that, but for mountain riding, fantastic. And it looks as though there's other people here with the same idea. Now this monument in Ryder supposedly represents the actual centre of Wales. And that's probably why it's so well known in biking circles, mainly because, you know, hour and a half, you can get anywhere in Wales from here. But it is the most beautiful little town.
Ryder is a small market town which has been pulling in the punters since Roman times. It has a population of 2,000 odd and 12 pubs, giving it the unofficial title of the UK town with the most pubs per person. There are plenty of other bikers here, mainly on big tourers, but I wouldn't swap one for my little Ccm.
I have to say, right, on this ride, this bike has been sublime. It is the perfect motorcycle for this kind of riding. I have to say though, I do get frustrated with this key fob thing that I've got, that I have to just keep pressing the back of the bike to make the ignition work. No, it bamboozles me completely. But I tell you what, on a road like we've just ridden, it doesn't matter what you're on. Could be a C50 Cub, could be a ZZR, whatever it is. Just to be here and to arrive in Rhyadr is fantastic.
Now market towns like this remind me of my own youth in East Anglia. But when I think back to those halcyon days, there's one bike that always comes to mind, a bike which today is enjoying an unexpected revival.
Now, I first saw a Triton when I was a kid in a car park in Norwich. I'll never forget it because it made me want to be a motorcyclist. And I'll tell you what, still to this day, I think that is everything a motorbike should be.
Most bikes we celebrate on this show are pure pedigree, but the Triton is a magnificent mongrel, a Triumph engine in a Norton frame.
Now, the original dream combination for a Triton was the featherbed Norton frame designed by the McCandless brothers in 1949, married with a Triumph parallel twin. Not the triple like this one, this was obviously a later addition. So why replace the Norton engine with the Triumph? Well, the Triumph engine revved lower, so consequently less vibrations. It was also infinitely tunable. There were loads of them around, but most importantly, it was much cheaper.
The bike you got was anything but a poor man's Norton. It looked good, sounded good, and owned the road. The Triton was the archetypal calf racer for ton-up boys to zoom around the North Circular from cuppa to cuppa.
I'll tell you what, that bike is glorious to ride. Well, seeing as it's a calf racer, I thought, well, coffee, cafe. There are many, many stories about how the Triumph engine came to be married to the Norton frame, but a good story is told by my mate Miles up in Preston.
Miles Robinson is one of Britain's most eminent Norton collectors. In amongst all his classic Nortons, he's got something that he says explains how the Triton came about. Not a Norton motorbike, but a Cooper car, fitted with a Norton engine.
It's the Formula 3 500 class, which is the class that Stirling Moss started in.
In the early 50s, Cooper Nortons were all conquering, but then, one day, Norton decided to spoil the party and stop selling solo engines.
At a point, they decided that they were only going to sell complete bikes. So what happened was, they had to buy the complete bike, took the engine and gearbox out, put it in the Cooper car, and they were left with a Manx rolling chassis. Now, what would any hot-blooded male want to do with a Manx rolling chassis?
Turn it into a calf racer with another person's engine in it.
Put a Triumph engine in, and we've got the Triton.
Even if the Triton was the unexpected consequence of the Formula 3 racing fad, by the mid-50s they were so popular that specialist workshops started springing up to put together custom-built Tritons. One of the most famous of these was Dresda, run by ace bike builder Dave Deegans. He's been building Dresda Tritons since the 1960s. So I've come down to his workshop in Essex to find out all about it.
The very first Triton that I ever knew about was a chap called Doug Clark, and he had put a Tiger 100, you know, the close fin early engine into Norton frame, and raced it.
Yeah.
And he'd actually had a letter from Triumph saying that he wasn't allowed to do this, to mismatch it. Of course, all he did, it made him more keen to do it, and his mate had one as well.
Dave didn't just build Tritons, he also raced them, winning the Barcelona 24 in both 1965 and 1970 on a Triton race bike.
The frame came from Russell Motors in Clapham Junction, where they are. Right. The wheels were, my co-driver was Rex Butcher, so we borrowed the wheels out of his Manx Norton. So he got a pair of Manx wheels on back Manx and an Aldani front wheel out of his short circuit bike and the petrol tank. So it was really a bit of a bitzer.
In recent years, with the fashion for classic and retro style bikes, Triton have been enjoying an unexpected revival.
What is it about the Triton, do you think, that has, endured, what, 60 years?
Yeah, yeah, more. Yeah, yeah. I think because it's achievable. I've done it, and there's a lot of other people that have actually done it, and all over the world. We've had them sent from America for us to put together properly. As time's gone on, we've always got probably at least 3 or 4 people who have bought frames to us. We modify them, and they're making a Triton.
Many marriages don't last, but the Triton is one of the great survivors. Dave Deegan's alone is responsible for over 1,000 Tritons, and judging from his workshop, there are plenty more to come.
Strange to think, isn't it, eh? 60 years ago, the Triton was the cutting edge of cool, both in function and form, and 60 years on, it still is today. That's what you call a legacy.
Coming up, me and Sam get down and dirty.
Isn't that the most disgusting bike you ever saw?
And my Welsh jaunt comes to a glorious climax.
This is why you come to Mid Wales, isn't it?
I'm in Wales, coming to the end of a beautiful day's riding.
I'll tell you what, the views and the riding here just get better and better. But back in the shed, Sammy and I are getting stuck in to the Goldstar strip.
Yesterday, we had a tough day, banging, wrenching, and almost burning the shed down.
Quick, fire! Tom, health and safety.
But by the time we stopped, we were well underway.
Okay, so look, right, we're doing quite well. We've got the engine out, we've got to get the gearbox out, we've got to get the rear wheel, front wheel, handlebars, all that kind of caper. And by the end of play today, we might actually have a frame, a bare frame, for us to look at and cogitate, hey? Are you going to say anything this morning or not?
Chains off.
Is that it?
For a minute, yeah.
Okay, rear wheel coming out.
No, I think it's a 2-part spindle for a sort of quick release rear wheel.
Oh, I really want to say that. I think it's a 2-part spindle, quick release rear wheel.
The Goldstar was fitted with a so-called QD, quickly detachable rear wheel. Not that this little puppy seems to know it.
Various things holding it all together.
What's happening there?
No, it's just stuck on the spline in here.
What else if I put some penetrating on it?
Well, you do that if it makes you feel better, but
it won't work.
Relatively pointless.
Why?
It's only when I apply an OPEX-sized slather of penetrating oil to loosen it that it finally emerges.
Well, I'm sure now that when it does come out, you'll...
Yeah, say that it was the penetrating oil. Yeah, of course I will.
Now
there you go. You see, now look, sorry, can I stop you right there? That did move much quicker.
When I went and got 2 screwdrivers
No, when I sprayed it with penetrating oil.
Next, it's the gearbox's turn to surrender.
Look at that. It's filthy. Eh? Everything's coming away now. Blimey, just loads of stuff. Look at that. Bingo.
Isn't that the most disgusting bike you ever saw?
Do you know what, mate? I mean, you've had many more years, but I've got to tell you, I've never seen anything like it.
No, I don't think I have, actually.
I mean, there's things living in it. There's 2-bed flats in there. Yeah. And cut.
Handlebars are off.
After that, the rest comes off pretty easily.
Don't drop it.
I'm not dropping it.
Until finally...
Ready?
It's the front end's turn.
Oi, oi!
There go the ball bearings.
Yeah.
We'll replace those.
They'll be replaced.
All right.
Well
look
done,
at
mate.
that.
Okay, I'm gonna... Oh, it's stuck
The
in
discombobulation of the BSA Goldstar is virtually complete. We still haven't managed to break everything down, so a few pleasures we'll save for later.
Yeah. Still can't get the mudguard off.
After 2 days, the Goldstar is a pile of parts and a naked frame.
Well, mate, look, hey,
That is the first part of the journey completed in its deconstruction.
It's all in big lumps, isn't it?
Mate, hey, now begins the transformation.
My journey through Wales has taken me past some stunning countryside and exceptional views. But now, at the end of the day, I've hooked up with Paul in Rhyadr. He's a local bike nut who organises and runs tours.
The Devil's Bridge ride that I've just done is very well known.
It is.
For many great reasons, yeah, but there are so many more around here, right?
We've got all sorts of riding. We can take you on long, sweeping, open stuff for the sports bikes. We can do green lanes or dual carriageways, as we call them, with grass in the middle.
Sorry, that's a dual carriageway around here.
That's a dual carriageway around here. As
Right.
long as it's got grass in the middle, it's a dual carriageway, yeah.
I've noticed actually, just especially in town here, a lot of dual sport riders.
Yeah.
Is that predominantly where it's at? So you do a bit of on, a bit of off-road, or not?
Yeah, I think rather than having a bike for each purpose, people are now going for the dual sport. So rather than having a motocross bike that's easily nickable from their shed and a big road bike, they're going for the dual sport, which aren't as capable at either job, but it gives you the scope to give, you know, more diversity of routes around.
Absolutely.
But don't think it's all rosy in the garden, though. Those green lanes and opportunities for off-road riding are increasingly coming under threat, and the biking community is having to put up a real fight to keep them open.
Our local authority, Powys County Council, at the moment are trying to close one of the best off-road routes that was ever given to us by the good man upstairs, the Monk's Trot. And because of the usage and this new SSI, Special Scientific Interests, they're trying to shut them down. Now, not even the mountain bikers and walkers can use them because they can't find the routes anymore.
And that's crazy. I mean, what is it about, you know, sort of government here and motorcycling? It just seems that people just want to close us down and stop us doing stuff. They still think we're just going to come and rape and pillage.
I've been trying to canvass the council to let them know that closed hotels don't pay any council tax. So, I mean, it's in their interest to obviously keep the sport alive.
Now, for a lot of bikers, Rhyadr is the end of the road. But the sun's still shining, and I've still got petrol in me tank, and so does Paul.
You're going to take me to a few special places, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Victorians.
Yeah, great, mate. Sounds a bit weird, that, doesn't it? It's going to take me to a few special places.
Before the censor gets his pencil out, no pun intended, we're off. Paul's on an Africa Twin, not that I'll hold it against him. After a day of solo riding, it's great to be out with a new mate. In the late afternoon sun, the landscape looks even more spectacular, and as Paul promised, he saved the best for last.
Just beautiful. Oh, Paul, this is why you come here. Hey, tell us about this dam. God, it's huge.
This is possibly the biggest dam in Wales. It's about 10.5 million gallons held back by this dam. And it was, interestingly enough, it was actually the first public engagement for Queen Elizabeth II to come and open the dam.
No, really? That's incredible.
She was here.
I've got to tell you, mate, Queen Elizabeth or not, just look at that. This is why you come to Mid-Wales, isn't it?
This is why we live here.
God, absolutely, man. But for us, we can cherish it for a week or two. Do you know what I mean?
You're welcome anytime. Anybody's welcome.
Tell you what, man, don't you think this is just a fitting end to what has been a perfect day in the saddle?
On next week's show, Sam takes me on a tour of Cornwall.
Following you, it's like some kind of 50s period drama.
Alan Milliard helps out in the shed.
I tell you, with rubbers breaking like that, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble, son.
And I'm introduced to another glorious British brand.
To me, it's just a privilege to be able to experience a Hesketh.